This is a video all about recommendations and a bit about my gaming history. A while ago, one of you suggested in a comment that I make a video like this, kind of going through games I've played in the past, styles of games, genres of games that I enjoy, or what I don't enjoy, just to give people a better idea of what they can recommend. Often recommendations kind of get scattered around different playthroughs, and I can maybe lose track of them or I forget to write them down. So it'll be nice to have everything in one place, without starting like a Discord server or something. So I'm going to leave this video as my channel trailer on the main channel page for the foreseeable future. So if you have future recommendations, then just leave them on the comment section underneath this video. I'll always check it to make sure I see them. I left a community post a little while ago asking for recommendations to help inform this video, so we'll be scrubbing through all of them. Here in my Steam library, my convoluted Steam library. We'll have a look through this so that you can get an idea of everything that I've played. There's stuff on other platforms, obviously, that I'll mention. I've got all your recommendations here. Things that I wasn't familiar with, I've had a look at the trailer for. So we'll have a look through these. In terms of the immediate updates for what's going on the channel, a while ago someone asked if I would turn on channel memberships because a few people wanted to maybe support the channel. I haven't turned on channel memberships, but I have turned on super thanks, so they're like one-off tip donations if you want to. I'm not bothered if you don't want to. You can put that, for those people who requested that. That is there now. I don't feel like I can really offer extra content to justify the memberships, but if you just want to use like the tip jar, which is the super thanks, then that's up to you. In terms of like advertising on the channel, I'll only ever have pre-roll and post-roll adverts. I'm never going to put the mid-roll ads on because they tend to show up multiple times through longer videos. So I'll leave them turned off. But that's how that stuff is on the channel. If you want to support with the super thanks, that's up to you. If you're one of the people who was asking about the channel memberships. So in terms of what's coming up immediately on the channel, I'm going to be running a dual schedule with some shorter games rather than just focusing on one game for both upload slots, because we've just finished some really long games. I'm just coming back from a little bit of a break. I hadn't really intended on not uploading anything for like over a month, but after I finished Elden Ring, there was a heat wave in the UK, so couldn't really record without my computer exploding. So and then after I just felt like chilling out for a bit, replaying bits of games, playing some more casual games and that kind of stuff. I've been replaying a bit of Cyberpunk, a bit of Spider-Man, playing a bit of Football Manager, just that kind of stuff. And so I didn't want to, this is a hobby after all. I'm going to upload when I feel like it, and I want to make sure that I'm at a place where I'm going to keep up with my schedule and be immersed and enjoy the games I'm playing, which I'm at now. So the split schedule. The 2 PM slot, I'm going to be playing a game called Eastshade. I thought it'd be cool to play something that was like a complete contrast to Elden Ring and Cyberpunk. There's a lot of death and misery in those games, whereas this is like an open world game with no combat. You play as an artist. It looks really cool, really relaxing. So 2 PM slot will be Eastshade, and in contrast to that, in the 8 PM slot, I'm going to be playing a classic game that I've never actually played before. I guess it's a classic now, Bioshock, which I've never played before. And if I enjoy Bioshock, I'll probably just go on to play the whole trilogy. I hadn't really realised that there was a Bioshock 2. I thought it was just Bioshock and Bioshock Infinite, but yeah, there are 3 games. So I think they're all around like the 15-20 hour mark. So that should be a lot of fun. And then, we'll have a look through your recommendations. Now, a quick caveat here. Now, obviously people recommend games that they themselves really like, but inevitably I'm not going to necessarily like all of them. I've had a look at trailers for ones that I've not already seen, but if I say I don't like it, don't get annoyed. I have to plan out a schedule, and I can't just play everything. And I have to pick stuff that I think I'm going to enjoy and that might suit and that will suit the channel, the kinds of games I usually upload, narrative-focused games. Let's just we're going to just scrub through these, move them around. I don't tend to plan that far ahead in terms of playthroughs. Usually like the next sort of 2, 3, 4 I have in my head. But yeah, So lots of interesting recommendations. Quite a lot of stuff that I've not actually heard of before. I have put in a few games that I was just planning on playing that weren't recommended. But yeah, let's just scrub through. So AI: The Somnium Files. Now I don't know if this classes as like a visual novel style game. I think it does. But there were a few of these, so we'll talk about these first. I think there were 3 that were recommended. It was AI: The Somnium Files, Danganronpa, Trigger Happy Havoc, and Zero Escape. There's a few of these Zero Escape games. Now, I liked that after watching the trailers. Obviously, the trailers might not reflect what the game is ultimately like, but AI looked interesting. So in terms of like how things are ranked here, definitely means it's like in my immediate plans. Probably means I'll definitely play it, but I just don't know when. Maybe I'm just unsure whether I'll like it, but I'm interested. Probably not. I don't know. I'm not in the mood for it after watching the trailer or thinking about it, or it's a horror game, and I don't really like horror games. And obviously, if I've already played it as well. So AI looked alright, but in terms of if I was going to pick one of these visual novel style games to play first, I think I liked the look of the Zero Escape games more. So in terms of what I'm most likely to play out of these, I would go for Zero Escape first. The one that I didn't really like the look of Trigger Happy Havoc. I don't know what it was. I just didn't like the look of it. But I think a lot of them are like kind of detective style games. Got to solve a mystery. But yeah, all really interesting recommendations. I think Zero Escape's been recommended quite a while ago as well, and I've been meaning to play a game light in this style, so maybe I'll start and dip my toes in the genre with Zero Escape, and then if I really enjoy that, then I can maybe move on to some of these other games as well. So they look really interesting for the most part. Now, I've been talking about playing Control for ages, and Alan Wake is obviously set in the same universe as Control, made by Remedy. I did buy Alan Wake, and then they released the remastered version like 2 weeks later, so I was a bit annoyed about that. But yeah, Alan Wake and Control, I think these will be like the next like longer set of games, because I know Control is like a 50+ hour game, so we'll focus on kind of shorter games for a little while. But Alan Wake and Control have been in my plans for ages. I just need to get around to them at some point. Now, Amnesia, is it Amnesia: The Dark Descent? Horror games. This is like something that all horror Let's Play channels play. I can be convinced about horror games. I didn't really want to play Until Dawn when it got recommended, but I ended up really enjoying that, having fun with it, getting into the cliches or the tropes of the genre. But I'm going to put all horror games in, probably not, so this is a bit of a misnomer. I'm down for playing a horror game. You have to sell me on it, right? If you really want me to play one of these games, you need to leave like a really good argument in the comments section to convince me, because I know a lot of video games have horror elements to them, but like Elden Ring has strong horror elements, Cyberpunk did, and etc. Lots of games have horror elements, but these dedicated horror games just... So yeah, I don't deal with it too well, let's be honest. But yeah, if you've got a compelling argument, leave it down below. Armored Core is an interesting recommendation. It's I didn't realise it was an older game. It's a PS2 era game that's made by From Software though, so I'm guessing that's why it was recommended, because it's a From Software game. But I swear From Software has said that they're bringing this series back, or they're making a new title in it. So I'm just going to float Armored Core 3 here. I don't know how I'd feel about playing, because I'd need to play it on an emulator, probably, because it's not on Steam or anything. But it looked cool. I'm just a bit... I don't know whether to maybe wait for FromSoft to eventually release a new Armored Core, because they are apparently working on that, or play it on an emulator, but then the resolution becomes a problem, capturing stuff becomes a problem. But it looked interesting, definitely. Yeah, From Software games are always interesting as well. The Bioshock series, obviously, I said at the beginning, this is what we're going to be playing in the 8 PM slot. I have actually played a few hours of Bioshock already, as you'll see when I go through my Steam library. I don't know why I bounced off it. I guess first-person games. When I get into my gaming history, you'll understand. Like, I kind of struggle to get. I used to struggle to get into first-person perspective games quite so much. Particularly, this has like I guess a bit of a horror element to it, etc. So I bounce off. In the past, I used to bounce off games like that. I think the channel has helped me finish certain games, whereas sometimes, I think we've all done it. Sometimes you just start a game and you just not in the right mood. It doesn't grab you straight away. So obviously we're going to be playing the remastered version, which I know is rumored to be quite buggy, but hopefully it runs all right for me. My computer's, fairly new and well spec'd. I have played Cuphead, but I just put this in here because I love Cuphead. So the Cuphead DLC can go here. I don't know if anyone would be interested in that, but I've nearly like S-ranked the game on expert mode, except for the final boss, which is like a major annoyance of mine. I just can't do it. But I would love to play that at some point on the channel. That would be cool. Now, Darkest Dungeon is an interesting recommendation because I really like XCOM 2. Like one of my inspirations, I suppose, or one of my favourite Let's Play channels before I started doing it myself was Christopher Odd, and he plays a lot of XCOM 2. I don't know, he would say that Darkest Dungeon would be a game that XCOM players would really like, but I don't know if I'd do a blind playthrough or whether I'd need to, because I know these games are very hard. You need to kind of be a bit familiar with what's going on, whether I'd need to just do a few test plays with it before playing it myself. So I wouldn't be too sure about that because I've never played like a strategy style game like this or procedural kind of strategy game like this on the channel before. Maybe you guys just have to walk me through what would be best. Maybe having a few, or at least playing through the tutorial part of the game, getting a bit of the boring learning curve out of the way before actually putting it on the channel. But I'd definitely be interested, as difficult as that would be. Maybe in the winter, that would, a lot of horror games suit being played in the winter, right? So yeah, Darkwood falls in the same kind of bracket. It did actually look really cool. So although this is a horror game, I don't think this is as kind of cliched as is it Amnesia, or am I thinking of one of the other ones? I can't remember, but yeah, Darkwood looked really cool. I think that was already on my Steam wishlist as well. Now, one I would be that kind of surprised me when I watched the trailer was Death Trash. Now, the trailer for this looked awesome. This is kind of like a dystopian pixel art 2D game. It was just right up my alley. It was just, yeah, really, really kind of piqued my interest. Looked cool art style, cool narrative. There's like a war between these kind of giant beings and humanity, kind of trying to bridge the gap, I think. So lots of cool narrative elements from the looks of it. So I'd be really interested in that. Not sure when I'd fit it in. Now, the Deponia trilogy was really awesome. These are... It's like it's a point and click adventure game with a cool art style where you play like in some sort of weird future where everything's turned into garbage essentially, or trash, right? To rubbish. And it's a point and click, really good writing apparently. Looks interesting. I don't think I checked how long the games are though, so I'd definitely be interested in them. So I'll just stick it in maybe for the time being. If I'm unsure what to play in the future, I will do votes in the community page. I am down for doing that. I should do some more community-led decisions, things like that. Obviously, Disco Elysium got recommended, but I've already played it. It's already on the channel. What are you doing? Go and watch it. Absolutely love Disco Elysium. Probably one of the best games ever made, right? Or best written games. Yeah, fantastic. Beautiful game. I already own Dishonored, and similar to Bioshock, I did play. This wasn't recommended. I just put this in myself because I thought maybe I could play it after Bioshock. I played a few hours of it and bounced off it a bit, but I think this has been recommended before. So I'll just float it here with Cuphead. Maybe I won't want to play this directly after Bioshock. Maybe it'll feel a bit too... I know they're not similar gameplay-wise, but, just the first-person game from the same era. But yeah, that'll be really interesting. I'm really interested to play that. And Divinity, this was an interesting one because I guess I had a misconception about this game. So Divinity Original Sin 2, I always thought that this was an MMO. And then I watched the trailer and it's an RPG. People regard it as like one of the best RPGs ever. And it just has optional co-op. So yeah, that'd be cool. It's just it's so long. It's like it's one of these 100-hour games. I just don't know when I'd feel like playing it. I'm just gonna kind of float. I'm gonna stick it in maybe, but this is the kind of thing I'd probably be into. I just don't know if I'd want to play it on the channel. I don't know. Again, maybe you can. Maybe I need to reread the community page again because I just kind of went through the recommendations. And, but yeah, if you can convince me about that, well, it does kind of feel like the game that would be better live streamed rather than doing like dedicated videos for. But yeah, the trailer really captured my attention. It's just I'm always a bit wary with longer games that I'm not majorly excited for, which conveniently leads to Dragon Age. Now, obviously, Dragon Age got recommended a lot after I finished Mass Effect. However, Dragon Age has always been a series that I've never been that interested in. I'm sorry to say. I have played a reasonable amount of Dragon Age Inquisition. I've played maybe 5 to 10 hours. I'm not sure. I think it's on whatever the EA launcher is that I've not opened in years. That would tell me, but I don't want to open that again. Goddamn EA. So yeah, from what I understand it, because this got recommended so much after Mass Effect, because obviously it's a BioWare game, but so I looked into reviews and opinions on the games and stuff. And so from what I understand, the first game is definitely the fan favourite. Best writing, pre-EA. Similar to Mass Effect 1, it was BioWare before they got bought by EA. The best writing, the best choices, the best characters. But obviously the visual style of it has aged quite badly. So that would be the one I would be most interested in. The second game had a really truncated development cycle, like 18 months or something. It's more linear. And you play as like a specific protagonist, I think. That looked like the least interesting one of the trilogy. And then Inquisition is the kind of big sprawling pseudo open world game, but it's made on the same engine as Andromeda and has the same kind of design style as it in terms of open world zones and the gameplay loop. And I didn't enjoy the gameplay really when I played it, whatever it was, 6-7 years ago when it came out. But I suppose after playing Mass Effect, the kind of squad style combat might have grown on me a bit. But yeah, basically I would want to play these if they did a Legendary Edition like they did with Mass Effect. I'd be a bit worried that I'd start them and then they'd announce like a Legendary Edition or something. And my enthusiasm for kind of it's annoying because I would be really interested in playing the first game, but then if I play the first game, everyone's going to ask me to play the whole trilogy. Not everyone, but you know, and I would kind of expect myself to do that. So I'm just going to say, for the time being, I'm just going to put it in probably not. I know this is sacrilege, probably, but I'm only, from everything I've looked at these games, the first game looks awesome, but the other two just, I can't find myself getting invested in them, and because it would be such a time investment, I'm just going to stick to playing some other stuff first. But you know, I've not put never on here. Never say never, but I would like to wait for them to announce, if they announce a Legendary Edition or something, then I'll be down for it. But until then, I'm just going to say probably not. I know Matt Wellens has just started that, so if you're interested in, I think she's doing a blind playthrough of Dragon Age, so go and check that out. I'll leave a link to that. And the same kind of thing goes for the Fallout series, unfortunately. Again, I don't know where it would be a best place to start. Some people have suggested starting in the 3D era with Fallout 3. Other people, and I would probably agree with this from what I've seen, that, you know, the original 2 games are the proper RPGs that have all the dialogue trees and real choice and consequence in Fallout 1 and 2, but they're from a completely different era, and if I was to play the whole series, that would be like 400 hours or something. And I'd never liked the look of the Fallout 3 and 4 as in terms of the art design. So I'm gonna the same things go for this as Dragon Age. Really, it's never appealed to me that much. Fallout. I don't. It's just a very grey looking style of dystopia or post-apocalypse. I know all post-apocalypses are going to look miserable in a way, but yeah, I'm just going to say probably not for the time being. I'd need convincing, or maybe if I know that New Vegas is regarded as like the best from the modern era, but I'm just on the fence with it, and like I said, the time investment really holds me back from those games. Now this leads to an interesting set of games. I think it's is it Gao, the writer who made them, the Japanese writer. So there's a trilogy of games. They're like 2D games that have really heartwarming story. They're all very short. The first of which is To the Moon, which I have already played. I played it like years ago. Broke my heart. So it's To the Moon, Finding Paradise, and The Imposter Factory are all part of this kind of loosely connected trilogy. Very emotional games. Kind of just. They're not point and click because there's animation in them, but just purely story focused, like 3-4 hour games. But I'd be down for replaying To the Moon on the channel if I was going to play the others, because I haven't played the other two. I think I do own Finding Paradise, but I think I bought it after I'd started my channel, so I was kind of maybe saving it. These would be really cool, and if I'm kind of if I'm having the 2 PM slot to be kind of games for a bit, that would fit right in, right? So yeah, To the Moon, Finding Paradise, and The Imposter Factory. So keep in mind, To the Moon wouldn't be a blind playthrough. I played it a long time ago, but the other two would be blind. But because it's only like a 3-4 hour game, I'd be fine uploading that as a replay, because it's great anyway. I guess this wasn't recommended, but it is in my plans, is Spiritfarer, to go in that slot as well, that 2 PM slot. This game, I know that this game is longer than I realised though. I think this is more like 20 to 30 hours. But yeah, it looks beautiful. So I'm going to stick Spiritfarer in indefinitely. You know what, let's put the Gao trilogy in indefinitely, because yeah, I'm gonna play them definitely. I think I should play them after Eastshade actually. Yeah, that's a good idea actually. Okay, so God of War PS4. Unfortunately, I've already played this. I played it before I started my channel. I've played most of the PS4 exclusives, but you know, I really enjoyed it. It's not my favourite game of all time, but great characters, great voice acting, kind of really enjoyable swashbuckling story, cool twist on sort of mythos that we're all familiar with. But yeah, I've already played it. I guess the only thing, I mean, the combat annoyed me a little bit in places, particularly the dodge animation. The dodge animation was so annoying. It was just so minimal for the kind of iframes it gave you. Yes, I didn't enjoy the movement in the game, because it felt like it was very Souls-like in the basics of the gameplay, but it didn't feel that responsive. I mean, once you got into the flow of it, it was really enjoyable, but I hope that the sequel improves on that, but I'm not going to play the sequel. I can't play the sequel because I don't have a PS5. I don't really have any plans to get one. Which I guess that could lead me to the Horizon games. Sorry, I'm sounding all negative. I really enjoyed God of War. It's just I remember at the time that the dodge animation used to really get on my nerves, because the rest of the game was so fun. But because you'd always end up, it was like one button press to dodge and then a second button press to roll. And because the normal dodge was actually really useful, but because it moved you such a small amount, you'd always end up rolling, because it wouldn't look like you were out of the way. But once you actually got used to using the dodge, you could stay a lot closer to the enemies. But yeah, really enjoyed God of War. I'd like to play Ragnarok, but unless someone gifts me a PS5, I'm probably just going to sit back and wait for a PC release. I have already played Horizon. Oh, wrong one. Alphabetical order. I've already played Horizon Zero Dawn. I played it on PS4. I've got the PC version as well. I just like to walk around in that game, particularly in the Frozen Wilds DLC. But oh god, you might have heard if you've watched. I don't know, maybe if you watched my Death Stranding playthrough. I always speak glowingly about Horizon. It's just the story, and just the story and the mystery and the slow reveal of everything. I won't spoil anything, but it was just great. Like whenever I actually think about how much I enjoyed that game, it's all I now realise I enjoyed it much more than I realised, and it's just it was an amazing game. And I would love to play Horizon Forbidden West, which I haven't played yet, but I just can't justify buying the PS5 for 2 games, which would be Horizon and Ragnarok. I just feel like they're going to release a PC version sooner than they did with the other one, because I think that they understand now that there are a certain group of PC players who just will never buy a console. So they're just, yeah, I'm going to put it in probably, but not either. If I find like a PS4 like in the park, PS5 like in the park when I'm walking around, then yeah, but I'm not going to spend that much money just to play 2 games that will already cost £70, which is just madness. But yeah, really, I've done a pretty good job avoiding spoilers so far, but I will look forward to that at some point in the future. But okay, Gone Home, I've already played it, unfortunately. Played it before I started my channel. Loved it though. Loved the music, the punk music. Great story. I think I played it 3 or 4 times. Great house to explore. You learn so much about the characters. Great game. But I played it multiple times. Guardians of the Galaxy was an interesting recommendation. It's supposed to be really beautiful. The story's supposed to be really fun. I'm not really the biggest fan of Guardians of the Galaxy as like the Marvel, just any of the Marvel stuff. I don't particularly like the films, the characters and everything. They get on my nerves a bit, but the game looked really fun. I suppose the only issue with this is I know that there's a lot of copyrighted music in Guardians of the Galaxy. So one of you maybe will have to tell me if there's a streamer mode or let's play mode that lets you turn off the copyrighted music, because I don't really mind having copyrighted stuff in the videos. It just means that they get monetized like by default, and then that whatever like 5 pence that gets earned on the video will go to the copyright owner. But you never know with music sometimes whether it's just going to be the one where they like hard strike the channel and then it's kind of curtains, right? So yeah, just let me know if there's like a streaming mode or something. I've never played Half-Life, interestingly enough. I've never been that interested in it though. So I don't know with Half-Life. I'm just going to kind of put it there as like a hard maybe. I know it's regarded as a classic and everything. So maybe I'd love it. But like that kind of creature style sci-fi, which is what I think it is. I could be wrong about that. I've never been, because I guess it crosses the line into horror, space horror, I suppose. But I don't know. I'd be down for it. I'm not sure how long it is, but yeah, I would need a bit of convincing to play Half-Life, but I'd probably enjoy it. Right, now this looked really cool. This was like but I just don't know if there was a narrative. Like, obviously, I tend to focus on more narrative-focused games, but this is like set in space. You play as like you work on like a space station and you break down like derelict spaceships. I just don't know if there's a narrative. I'd play this in my own time, like 100%, but I just don't know if it'd go on the channel because I don't really. From the trailer, it didn't look like there was much of a story or characters in it. Hollow Knight, unfortunately, I've already played. I played it before my channel started. Great game, absolutely loved it. Where is it? Down here somewhere. I can do the alphabet. There we go. Yeah, I already finished it. Great game, great experience, beautiful art style, smooth gameplay, great exploration. Yeah, loved every second of it. But I could maybe play the DLC when that comes out. I know Silk Song is due at some point next year. But yeah, I've already played it, unfortunately. Hotline Miami got recommended on the back of Katana Zero. I think it's the same devs, so kind of frantic, one attempt level stuff. yeah, I'd be down for that. It looks really fun. The music is quite iconic from what I remember in terms of what everyone says about it. Now, Inscription looked cool. I know that this is like a kind of weird horror card game kind of thing. But yeah, it looks interesting. I'd need to maybe look into it a bit more. Maybe I'll just chat to you guys about it. But yeah, I'll stick it in the maybe for now. But it looked really cool. I'd maybe need to give it a go to see if I'd like it. Yeah, Inside. I think the game that they made before Inside. I think I have. The name is just escaping me. I'll check my Steam library after we're doing this. But yeah, that'll be cool. I think it's quite short as well, so that might be a cool experience. Side scroller, black and white art style. I know it's a horror game, but yeah, look cool. Legend of Grimrock. Now this is like a 3D grid based medieval game. I think I don't know if it was medieval actually, but yeah, I was a bit unsure whether there was much story involved with this. So I'm just going to stick it in probably not for now. If you want to inform me as to whether the story's a bit more, you know, I try to be a bit careful with what I search for. I try to just watch the trailers and get my opinions from them. But yeah, it looked cool. But I just if games don't have significant story to them, then I don't think it's something I'd put on the channel. But you know, there is always going to be exceptions. So maybe you need to chat to me about that one. Observation, interestingly enough, I already started a Let's Play for this ages ago, and then I got stuck on the first camera puzzle, and I just quit the game and didn't played something else. So I'll put it in the maybe pile just because I don't. If I start again and then I just get stuck again, then yeah, my brain and puzzle games. Now, Okami looked cool. I don't know if it's a remake of an older game or if it's a sequel to the older game, but yeah, cel-shaded art style based on a lot of Japanese mythology, play as a wolf. Looked really cool. I'm just not sure. I don't know. I'm just a bit on the fence with it, but it looks really fun. I'll stick it in maybe for now. I know this looks like I'm kind of putting a lot of stuff in maybe, but it just means I can chat to you all about them in the comments, really, to be honest. Now, other FromSoft games, I guess Armored Core is another FromSoft game, but I've played pretty much all of them. The only one I've not played is Demon's Souls. I've played Dark Souls 1, 2, 3, Bloodborne, Sekiro, Elden Ring, and I've played through most of them multiple times. I mean, I played through Sekiro 3 or 4 times, and I've played through the others multiple times too. So I don't want to upload replays. I was uploading a challenge playthrough of Dark Souls 3 where I tried to play through on Soul Level 1, but no one was interested in it, so I took the videos down. But I'd be down for maybe doing something like that. But it's not in my immediate plans, but if you guys would be interested in a challenge series, or maybe if I try to do some live stuff at some point, I don't really know. But that's the only way I'd go back to an older FromSoft game, but I've just played them all. Demon's Souls, I don't have a PS5, so that's kind of off the cards as well. Right, now, Outer Worlds, I think that this was made by the people who made, is it Fallout New Vegas, or that studio, kind of went off and did their own thing and made Outer Worlds. So it's kind of like Bethesda without all the corporate stuff getting involved with DLC and stuff, so I'd be interested in that, looks fun. Choice and Consequence in space, right? Oh yeah, Outlast. This is the kind of cliched horror game Let's Play. You're going straight in, probably not, friend. Like I said, all horror games require me to be convinced. Right, now, I guess I'll get into this when I go into a bit of gaming history, but the Persona games have been games that I've never played any Persona game, and I've been very interested in them for a long time, really, but I have a bit of a weird relationship with JRPGs because I grew up playing JRPGs. It was like my favourite genre of game as a teenager. But I'm in like a weird place as an adult where I really struggle to get into JRPGs now. My theory is that Final Fantasy X, without spoiling Final Fantasy X, just completely broke me emotionally with JRPGs, and or at least with Final Fantasy games, and I just can't get into them anymore. And I'd be a little bit worried with a Persona game that I just couldn't get in the headspace, and I know that they're like kind of with the high school stuff, so I don't know if I'd if it just made me feel old or not. I don't know. So yeah, like I said, I'm in a bit of a weird place with JRPGs where I need to have a JRPG experience that is really positive and like gets me back into the genre where there aren't like multiple caveats. Like after like I guess Nier Automata isn't like a classic JRPG, but it's a Japanese game. It has a lot of the kind of tropes that are present in more traditional JRPGs, and like the Final Fantasy VII remake I didn't necessarily get on with. I loved Nier Automata, but there were some things in it that annoyed me a bit outside of the core story being so well written. So I'm just kind of going to put it down here, in between here. I don't really know. And the other problem, like I said, with Dragon Age and Fallout, if I'm a bit on the fence and then the game is also over 100 hours, it's not something I want to really commit to. But it's something that, you know, like I said, I've been interested in for a long time. I've just never like dipped my toe in these games. So if you want to chat to me about Persona, I'd definitely be down. If you can convince me, but again, the length of the games when I'm not sure just doesn't help. I'm going to put Portal right next to Half-Life. I own it. I've played a bit of it. I just don't know, because I don't know how strong the story was in Portal. I don't know. It'd be fun though, I suppose. I guess it's quite short. I could probably play it, but it's not in my immediate plans. Red Dead Redemption 2 has been recommended a lot. I've bought the game now. It was going to be the next kind of AAA game that I played after Control. But yeah, I'm definitely going to play it at some point. But I know how long it is. But I've never been into westerns. But I just know that the character writing and stuff and the quest design is supposed to be amazing in Red Dead. But you know, I'm down for it. I think after I've played Control, I'll definitely play it. Right. Remnant from the Ashes is escaping my brain. Remnant from the Ashes. Right, I'll remember. Just give me a moment. Salt and Sanctuary is a 2D Souls-like. I think it's been on my wish list for ages. I'd be down, but I need a little break from after playing Elden Ring. So, yeah, I'm probably down for Salt and Sanctuary, but I need a little bit of break from Elden Ring and that kind of stuff. Right, Subnautica and Subnautica Below Zero. I've already played Subnautica. It's on the channel. What are you doing? Go watch that. Yeah, I really enjoyed it, but I'm not great with survival games, but I enjoyed it in the end. I think the story helped balance it out for me. So I really enjoyed Subnautica, and I did have plans to play Below Zero 2, but I just ended up playing Mass Effect and all that stuff, so I'm down for Below Zero at some point. I just need to actually pencil it in properly. The Forgotten City, I think, got recommended after Outer Wilds because it's a time loop game. I think I don't know, is it set like in a Roman place? I'm not sure. But it looked cool actually. Time loop games are always interesting. I think, yeah, people who liked Outer Wilds have suggested that. Quarry, I think this is made by the same people who made Until Dawn, which means you, sir, Mr. Horror Game, are going straight here. in the probably not pile, but I'd be down for it. You just have to convince me. The Tomb Raider reboots. It was specifically Tomb Raider, the first one, Tomb Raider 2013, that got recommended, but I've played all of them. It's a weird trilogy, right? Because the first game is probably the best one of the reboots, and then they kind of get, story-wise, they kind of get worse in each entry, but the gameplay is really fun in all of them. Just kind of like Lara Croft in Uncharted kind of style game, but I've already played them all, unfortunately, so I can't play them on the channel. But I really enjoyed them for what they were. But I really liked the first one the most. It had a bit more of a grounded storyline. Tunic, this has been recommended just before I started playing Elden Ring. Yeah, looks fun. I'd be down for it. I don't know, is it like a kind of somewhere between like Breath of the Wild and The Witness, with a bit of Souls-like in there, maybe? I think, yeah. So I know that it's supposed to be really challenging puzzle-wise, which like scares me to death. But I'd be down for it, man. It looks cool. Good art style, solid gameplay loop from everything I've heard. Unfinished Swan is made by the people who made What Remained of Edith Finch, which is one of my favourite stories of all time. But it's very different. I think you think this is more gameplay driven, but I'd be down for it. Slightly shorter game as well, which helps. And The Witcher 3, obviously my channel's named after the Witcher 3 character, and so obviously that means I've already played it, but I think this specifically was referring to my themed Witcher 3 playthrough, which I started a couple of years ago, but stopped uploading. The main reason I stopped uploading it was because I couldn't keep up with it. So the videos tended to be, so it was like a themed, modded, and narrated style playthrough, right? Because I'm so familiar with the game and the books and everything, it was lore focused. I did a lot of narrations. There was no menu scrolling. There were like narration excerpts through the traveling sections from like the inventory books and from the Sapkowski novels and stuff. And it was like I was trying to make this really crafted playthrough. Each video was like 90 minutes, but they took a long time to make because I had to do some more editing. I'd made custom quests out of some of the like points of interest and stuff, but it was too difficult to keep up with, and no one was interested in it. And the other thing that bothered me was I kind of hadn't updated my setup, so it was in 1080p, 30 FPS on my old microphone. So if I was going to do it again, I would have wanted to do it in 4K 60 with the good mic and pre-record the whole thing. So I just don't know. The one thing that kind of killed my enthusiasm a little bit for this was the Netflix Witcher show. Now I know it has its fans, but as someone who's read like all the novels and played all the games so much, and I was really excited for the Netflix show I was excited until I saw like the casting and the trailer and stuff, and then when I actually watched it, it was just, for me personally, I just thought it was awful. Not absolutely awful. Like, yeah, for me, it just didn't capture anything like the atmosphere in the books or the games. Like you know, the games have their inconsistencies in terms of the books, but it's like in terms of when you're, you know, when you're taking an IP and putting it in a different medium, or bringing it to life, or whatever, or taking a book and making it into a game or a film or a series, it's all about the feel. It's all about the feel. The story might change, things might get taken out, replaced, but it's all about the feel, right? And that's, for me, that's what the games got so right, or particularly the second and third games. The first game, story-wise, was a bit off, but in terms of Witcher 2 and 3, like, they get the vibe like so right, like the way it feels, and that's what the show didn't do for me, and it just kind of killed my enthusiasm a little bit. But maybe when the Witcher 3 next gen version comes out and the ray tracing and stuff, maybe a whole new slew of mods will come out so maybe I'll start it again during that period. I don't know. And I've forgotten what Remnant from the Ashes is. Right, Remnant from the Ashes. This did look really cool. I just don't know how much story it looked like there was. You know, I'm happy to play games that are more gameplay focused, but I do prefer games to have a bit more of a story loop, narrative focus. But I don't mind. I need to maybe be told a bit more about Remnant. I've watched the trailer; it looked really cool from an art style perspective. The gameplay looked fun. I'm not sure how much story is in it, and I tend to focus on story first. So I'd be interested, but just need to know a little bit more about the story. Right, those were all the recommendations. If you have any more, feel free to leave them in the comments, and we'll chat about any questions that I've had. Yeah, I'm happy to chat with them. In terms of my gaming history, I mean, I'll go through, I guess, kind of what I grew up playing. We'll have a look at my Steam library. I'll maybe just have a word about my favourite games, kind of games that I play. I mean, growing up, console-wise, I mean, I'm 30 odd years old, so first console that we had in my family was the Sega Mega Drive, which is I think that's the Sega Genesis in America, or maybe in other parts of the world, I'm not sure. But yeah, when I was sort of under 10 years old, that was what we had. So it was more watching other people play, really. Maybe I'd play a bit of Sonic and GoldenEye, Street Racer, and then we got a PS1, a bit later. That's when I maybe started playing a little bit more, but we were still sharing the console. I'd probably watch my dad play like Doom. We'd maybe play like racing games together, like rally games, because my dad used to be a rally driver. My sister would play a lot. My older sister would play a lot of platform games, so I'd watch her play like Crash Bandicoot, Pandemonium, those kinds of stuff, those kinds of games. And PlayStation was where I kind of first got into the Final Fantasy games. I also had a Game Boy Color because I couldn't always play the PlayStation because we were all sharing it. So I actually really liked the Pokemon games, and so I think Final Fantasy and Pokemon was where I maybe got the love for turn-based games, maybe slower-paced games, and just RPGs in general. Just being able to not rush and not have to do things right away, sort of like the opposite of like my dad playing Doom or my sister playing platformers. I remember like a guy who used to work with my dad gave him a copy of Final Fantasy VII because he didn't like it and said, well, Matt might like this. So I remember I was too young to kind of understand what was going on. I kind of played through the opening section in Midgard, I remember. But then I didn't really play past the opening couple of hours because I just didn't know what to do. But it made like a real impression on me, Final Fantasy VII. And I just remember like when I was a little bit older, I ended up getting Final Fantasy VIII, which I ended up playing a lot more of, and then going back to 7. And that's probably where my love for JRPG started, and just RPGs in general, slower games. Just being able to take your time and relax with the game, not having to move so fast. And yeah, I played most of the other modern Final Fantasies. 9 was great. 10 definitely probably made a massive impression on me due to the story. I won't spoil that. But 10 was just, yeah, such a great story. I feel like it gets memed a little bit just because of the laughing scene and maybe some of the voice acting coming across the wrong way to some people, but story-wise, it's the most complete Final Fantasy, I feel, in terms of like story, gameplay, characters, exploration. Although it doesn't have the fully explorable kind of open world that the others have, but still. And then yeah, I went back to play some of the older like SNES era games like Final Fantasy 4 and 6, which I love. Final Fantasy 6 was great. That's the game they should have remade, not 7. But yeah, and you know, plenty of other games, kind of typical games like, you know, GTA, Vice City, and Driver. I really enjoyed those games. I liked quite a lot of fighting games as well. I think I liked melee fighting games a lot more than I ever liked games that involve shooting, which is why I think I struggled to get into first-person shooters in general. But yeah, love Tekken, Street Fighter, the original, the Spider-Man games that were on PlayStation. They were all really cool. But yeah, so like PS1 and PS2, a little bit of PC. I remember I played Diablo 2 and a lot of the Command & Conquer games on our family computer. And yeah, Diablo 2 made a big impression on me. I really enjoyed that. But not a lot of multiplayer outside of maybe racing games. But yeah, story game wise, yeah, mostly Final Fantasy, to be honest. And then yeah, I left for university in like the late 2000s, around the time the PS3 came out. I never bought a PS3, so that kind of era where like Bioshock, Mass Effect started and stuff, Dragon Age, whatever. I missed out on most of that because I never bought one. And then I guess like 5 years later was when I started getting back into gaming in like my mid-20s, I suppose. And like when I built a gaming PC, I ended up buying a PS4 too, but the PC came first. And the games that really got me back into gaming were The Witcher 2 and Dark Souls. Alongside some other like indie games like Antichamber and what's it called? Let's have a look at the old library. It's in there. Where is it? It's down here. The Talos Principle. Yeah, games of that nature. But particularly The Witcher 2 made a massive impression on me just because there was so much choice. and it was just, yeah, and Dark Souls as well, just the figure it out yourself kind of mantra, and I guess that kind of shaped the games that I liked. I guess I was a bit older, and yeah, I enjoyed darker stories, maybe some more slightly more dystopic style stories. Ended up getting a PS4 as well. So before we have a look through the games I've played on here, I played most of the PS4 exclusives. I bought the PS4 pretty much exclusively for Bloodborne, but that led to me playing all the other kind of major PS4 games like Uncharted. I ended up playing The Last of Us on the channel, but yeah, Horizon Zero Dawn, God of War, and I played Ghost of Tsushima. That's on the channel. But yeah, the PS4 had a lot of great exclusives. I wish they'd just put all of them on PC now. I mean, it's pretty much a meme at this point. Like 60 frames per second Bloodborne on PC would just be glorious, right? But in terms of like my favourite games, just before we have a quick flick through this Steam library, I mean, I think you all hear me go on about plenty of them, but I think The Witcher 3, The Witcher 2, and Cyberpunk are definitely up there, just because I can't necessarily articulate specific reasons why CDPR games, why I like them in particular, but I just enjoy the writing style, the characters they create just feel so tangible in all of their games. But they're the games that I've returned to the most. I think that's like the year The Witcher 3 came out. I don't think I played any other game. Like I finished it, and every time I tried to start something else, I was just like, well, I'll just go play The Witcher 3 again. Like the last few weeks, that's how I've felt with Cyberpunk. I just enjoy driving around and being around like the ambient atmosphere in those games. But I'll group those three together because they're all CD Projekt Red. But I really enjoy their games. Nostalgia-wise, I'd always say Final Fantasy 8 and 10. 8 because it was the first one I finished, and 10 because I believe it's the best Final Fantasy of the pre-Square Enix era. Because it's the most well-rounded, I feel, in terms of story, gameplay design, characters. I think it's just got a bit of everything. But you know, I loved all of them. So, but yeah, nostalgia-wise, I'd always say Final Fantasy 8 and 10. And like stuff I've played on the channel, I think stuff that's made like a real mark on me, particularly like emotionally, I'd say like What Remains of Edith Finch made like the biggest like impression on me of stuff on the channel. In terms of like overarching plot and story, I mean, I've just said Cyberpunk, so I can't say that again. Obviously, Outer Wilds is just... I mean, it's one of the best video games, like, true video games ever made. I think, you know, there are other games that tap into other elements of storytelling more, like character and certain, you know, more closely tied narratives. But in terms of, like, a true video game, I think Outer Wilds just has to be up there, doesn't it? It just has to be. Although I mean, I'd say of all the From Software games, my favourite. It's a tough choice between Sekiro and Bloodborne. It's a really tough choice. I prefer the boss fights. Oh, no, I don't know. It'd probably have to be Bloodborne, wouldn't it? I think overall, I think out of all the From Software games, I just think that Bloodborne. I just think that leaning into the aesthetic matches the gameplay style just to a T. It just comes together like so well. Yeah, probably Bloodborne would be up there. But I'll think of some more as we flick through here, just so I can tell. Because I've fallen victim to a lot of Steam sales over the years, as you'll see. But just so you get an idea of what I have and haven't played, I'll have to talk about some stuff that's come and gone on the channel, I suppose, as well. But yeah, Abzu, great, that's on the channel. Alan Wake, I've not played yet, but I'll play it when maybe in a couple of months after we've gotten through some Bioshock stuff, and then we'll get back to Alan Wake and Control. Antichamber, I really recommend this to any of you who haven't played it, because it's like a really abstract puzzle game. where like the solutions don't really make any logical sense. Most of the time, you have to find really weird ways of figuring the puzzles out, and the ending. I'm not spoiling anything, but it's really captivating for for the puzzle game to have such like a obscure narrative. I really recommend this game to any of you, just to do like a reverse recommendation on you, because I've already played it. Bastion was great narration. I don't really like, I'm not into Batman that much anyway, but I didn't get on with Batman that much. But I played it quite a long time after release. Maybe I just didn't give it a proper chance. I think one of the things I like about my channel is that it makes me finish games. I think I said that before. But you know, things like that I maybe just, you know, have a little go at and don't finish. So I guess that the beginner's guide being here, because this has been re-recommended, but this is one of the games that I did have a playthrough of on the channel I've now taken down. I'm trying to explain this in a concise way. So there's a few playthroughs that I've taken down, but I'd say that there are 3 that I took down for kind of the same reason. So the Stanley Parable, the Beginner's Guide, and Nier Automata were 3 games, and I really and I enjoyed all 3 of the games. I didn't like the Beginner's Guide that much, but the Stanley Parable and particularly Nier Automata, I loved those games. But I had a very similar experience with all those games in terms of like the interaction on them. When I was uploading the playthroughs, you know, those of you who like watch regularly, I had really good chats and discussions with a lot of you, like close to the playthrough going up. And then what I found is like people who were coming to the playthrough like several months or a year or so afterwards, like the comments were always like the worst. They were always like hated. So I'd have to either just ignore them or get like an argument with someone. And it was just like, well, and it was never as good as it was when I uploaded them. Whereas on every other series I do, whatever it is, I always like enjoy going back and interacting with with comments on all the series. You know, just talking about that game again. But they were never enjoyable comments on those particular games. So I just thought, right, well, I'm not getting anything out of this anymore. And you know, maybe I was being a bit temperamental, but so I took the 3 playthroughs down, even though I don't really have anything against the games themselves. It was more just the negative experience of interacting with certain people, like, you know, quite a while after I'd finished the game. So that's why those games went. A couple of other playthroughs or playthroughs maybe that weren't finished. I had 2 repeat. So my Witcher 3 playthrough, which I've already spoken about, that's still on the channel, but they're all unlisted videos because it's not finished, and I'll probably restart it if I was to do it again. Like I mentioned, I did have a Dark Souls 3 Soul Level 1 playthrough, but no one was watching it, so I ended up taking that down. And I did start Ori and the Blind Forest. I think that was like the 2nd or 3rd playthrough I tried to do, and I found it really difficult to do commentary over because I think I was playing it on a hard difficulty, and I was dying so much, and the narrative is very loose, isn't as present in the game. So I just didn't, you know, I was still getting used to having to making videos for the channel. So I ended up just playing it off camera. I'd be down for playing the sequel though, Will of the Wisps. But yeah, those are playthroughs that have kind of been and gone. The only other one would be Hellblade. I've probably spoken about this before, but I always get a little bit annoyed when games try and use like mental illness as a crutch. And while that game, you know, kind of tries to pride itself on its depiction of mental illness as being, you know, very accurate and true, which it is, I'm not saying it's not. It's like they forgot to actually write a character. So ultimately, despite how realistic the symptomology of what they present is, they still forgot to write an actual character, and that's the one thing that gets on my nerves when mental illness is used in any form of fiction. Is people with mental illness are real people, and they are individuals. They're not just a textbook of symptoms. You know, there's much more to them as an individual, and most Like, this is what I got annoyed about this in The Last of Us Part 2 with Ellie. And it's the same thing in Hellblade. Like, you have to write a character. You can't just write a book of symptoms. And that's why I ended up taking that playthrough down, even though that game is so highly regarded by people. And I don't really get why. For those reasons. So yeah, that's quite a lot of playthroughs, I suppose. Is that like 6? Yeah. But some of them weren't finished. And like the Beginner's Guide and the Stanley Parable were both single playthroughs, but yeah. So Bioshock will be coming up. I played a bit of the non-remastered version. What is it, like an hour? Yeah. I'll have to be careful because apparently the game can be quite temperamental with its performance on PC, the remastered edition. Hopefully my PC specs, I should have probably put that in, trying to keep all information in. I've got an i7 11700K, I think, yep, 3080. I've got like a bunch of different drives, you know, because I record on one SSD, the game is on another SSD, Windows is on another SSD, and there's another storage for finished videos. 32 gigs of RAM, I think. Yeah, so I should be okay running it, but you never know. A Bird Story, I think that this is linked to the Moon, so I might play that with that series. Brothers would be a game I'd love to play, but I've had the ending ruined. I can't remember where it got spoiled, but someone said what the ending was, which I won't spoil for you now. But the ending is quite important, I think. The Cat Lady is a really good game. I was just speaking about stuff that uses mental illness, I think. But I think this, from what I hear about this is something that would be quite a harrowing experience to play, but awesome. Chrono Trigger is a classic I've wanted to play for a long time. I'll probably do this at some point because this is from the era of JRPGs that I really like. I just never played it. I never owned any of the systems that this was available on, although it's probably available on PlayStation, right? But I wasn't exactly in touch with every game that was coming out. But I'm going to play that at some point, guaranteed. I do like, now one thing you'll see here, I am always in search of a good casual, like, sit back and just play games. So like strategy games, I love football games, fighting games. I'm always in search for something I can just, you can just jump in for a little bit, like half an hour, without really thinking that much. I know strategy games you have to think about, but when you get in a rhythm with strategy games, it's a bit different. Cloudpunk, I have bought the DLC, so that actually should go on the list I just made before. I've spoken about the Cuphead DLC, that'll be cool. All the Dark Souls games, love them. Dear Esther actually is a game is a walking simulator style game that I've been meaning to do for ages. I did buy Death Stranding again on PC. I just like to walk around in it. It's just really relaxing. I don't know where it is. Don't know what it is. We've got the Deus Ex trilogy here. Now, I had planned on playing this when I was doing my Cyberpunk series. The problem was, the original game I just couldn't get to run properly. The resolution was weird. Like, I'd get the resolution up to 1440p, but then the text was too small even for me to read, let alone like on the recorded video. And I was trying to find fixes for it. I just couldn't get it to work, and I got impatient, so I just moved on. I've played a reasonable amount of Human Revolution. 7 hours, God, I've forgotten about most of that. Wow. That's probably like half the game. So yeah, I did play a fair amount of this, but I tend to not do much in games sometimes, as I'm sure you're aware. But I'd be interested in going back to this. It's just I have to be able to get the first game to run. Maybe you guys could let me know if I should just go straight back to Human Revolution, which I can't remember a lot of this, considering how much I played. It's a long time ago that I played that. I bought the first and the third games together, thinking I was going to play the trilogy. Dishonored I've played a little bit of, 2 hours. Again, just you bounce off games sometimes, don't you? Some more casual games like Don't Starve and Dorf Romantic. Dying Light actually will be an interesting one. I know it has a bit of a cult following, but I don't know if it's more to do with just like the gameplay experience or how good the story is. I'm a bit on the fence there. Eastshade will be starting in the coming days. Echo, great game. Love the art style. Love the story. Great. Football nonsense. Elden Ring. Yeah, Skyrim. Man, look at I played this for 90 hours. I never even finished the thing. That's the crazy thing, man, with sandbox style games like that. You know what I remember? What's funny? When I played Skyrim, I don't know why I did this, but I started the game, created my character, went through the opening section, and then I knew that there was a magic school in the game. I think you can see it on the map at the beginning, so I was just like, right, I'm going to magic school, like sack everything else, like, and I just walked all the way. I think it's in like the northeast, and I walked across the whole map to go to magic school. I just showed up, like, oh, guys, I'm here to learn magic. I'm level 1. But yeah, it's fun. I just don't remember anything about the story in Skyrim. I guess that's not really the point, right? It's a sandbox. It's like the opposite of like the kind of open world that like The Witcher 3 and Cyberpunk are, which are like narrative driven but not activity driven, whereas Skyrim is more, and like GTA and those kind of more sandbox open worlds are activity driven and not story driven. That's how I see them anyway. So you just go around and you have fun, do what you want, compared to like a CD Projekt Red open world, which is more like stories everywhere and narrative engagement, but they're very light on the activities. Did I even play Endless? I played a bit of Endless Legend. It's a strategy game, right? I'm forgetting everything. Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. That's on the channel. Go watch that. Fall Guys, In Search of the Casual. Fair's great indie game. Final Fantasy's here. Did Final Fantasy 9 come out on PC? I'm not sure if it did, you know, I'll have to get that. But yeah, love all of them. Final Fantasy 13 and 15, I really tried. I really did. I just couldn't get in. I just can't get into them. I don't know what it is. Like, I think that obviously there is a big difference between Squaresoft era RPGs and Square Enix. Like, Square Enix, in my opinion, do not make good games, generally speaking. And when you talk about Final Fantasy 13, it's one of those games where it's like, oh, you get through the first 20 hours, then it starts getting good. And it's like, well, what about the first 20 hours? That's a lot of time. But I just got the characters. It's a real struggle. But yeah, maybe one day. Yeah, Final Fantasy X, love it. Finding Paradise, coming up soon. Football Manager, Time, Black Holes of Time. Yeah, Forza, In Search of Casual Games, Frostpunk Strategy. Gemini Rue would be cool, actually. I've forgotten about that. I dipped into that a little bit. The detective game. Gone Home's awesome. GTA 5, I think I played through it once. I'm not the biggest fan of those games anymore. Greece was great. Hades, yeah, I bought this in sale, I think. Yeah. I know that this is like 99% positive on Steam, isn't it? I don't actually know much about it, to be honest. Is it like a roguelite? I'm not sure. But yeah, I should play that at some point. I like jumping into Horizon just to walk around in the snowfields. Really great. Hyperlight Drifter was a great game. Forgotten about that. Yeah, Miami, Hotline Miami after playing Catan Zero will be good. I actually played quite a bit of LA Noire. Look at that, 7 hours. That's been requested before, actually. I don't know why I bounced off it. I guess I got quite far into it. A few games that I didn't play, I just bought in a sale. Idiot. Yeah, Life is Strange. Yeah. I'm not going to say that this is like a definite, but I'm never. I really don't think I'm ever going to play another game in that series, because like Life is Strange was great. It was really great. I really cared for those characters, but Before the Storm and Life is Strange 2, just the more distance I get from them, yeah, I just think that there were certain fundamental aspects of those games that I just didn't get on with. And if you're going to enjoy Before the Storm, you have to like the character Rachel, and I didn't. And Life is Strange 2, you have to be comfortable with it being like a parenting simulator, and I wasn't. Whereas I think Life is Strange is much more simple and endearing compared to the other two games. And I don't want to risk having another negative experience on the channel like that, because you know, people don't want to watch Let's Plays where someone doesn't have a good time, right? And that's what it feels like sometimes with games like that. Spider-Man Remastered, I've been jumping around in that. I played it on PS4, obviously, when it came out. I loved Spider-Man growing up. But yeah, Mass Effect games, they were great. I enjoyed Andromeda. for the most part, but the main trilogy, yeah, what a great experience. We all love you, modding. Yeah, the Middle Earth games are alright, pretty forgettable, but pretty fun, but kind of repetitive. Nier Automata I actually played on PS4, so I don't think I've got much time in the PC version. Neo, I was going to do a Let's Play of it, but didn't end up starting it after I saw how long the game is. I think it's quite grindy with the loot system, so I'm not sure if I'd do that. No Man's Sky, I think I've got a few hours in that, but not much. Need to try it again now that it's all been patched up. The Novelist would be cool, actually, I think. Observers on the channel, that's a great game. Outer Wilds, obviously, Ori, that I didn't play it on the channel, I finished it off camera. Now, actually, yeah, Plague Tale Innocence, the sequel's coming out in a few weeks. I don't generally like playing games at release, or at least bigger games, AAA games, because it's not like a AA game. But Requiem's coming out in about a month or two. So I definitely want to play that because I loved A Plague Tale. Such a great soundtrack. And the voice acting was superb. I really liked it. I don't know what it was. The music just spoke to me. Yeah. Outer Wilds, glorious. I've played a bit of Portal, so I maybe should go back to it. I know people. Typhon Hunter would actually be quite good. I know a lot of people compare it to that other game that they released, Deathloop, because it is a similar style game. But I think some people actually think Typhon Hunter's better. Primordia would be something I'd love to play on the channel, but it only runs in like 240p. I just don't know how that would go for uploads. I don't know. Football Nonsense, Red Dead 2, I own it now, so I've got to play it. Remember Me, actually, I've forgotten about that. That's a sci-fi game. Has some kind of similarities to elements of the Cyberpunk 2077 lore and ideas for dark futures, so I'd be down for playing that. I think that's like a PS3 era game. Oberdin, Rhyme, all on the channel. Tomb Raider games, bit of Rocket League, can't go wrong, right? Sekiro was great. I've put a lot of time into the Civilization games. I love a sit back, turn-based strategy style games. Can't go wrong. Probably spent more time with Civ 5 though than Beyond Earth or 6. Yeah, I've maybe played 2 full games of 6, but played a lot more of 5. Yeah, speedrunners, yeah. Spiritfarer's definitely coming up soon. I've just got to play it, man. It's going to be emotional. I just know how badly emotional it's going to be. You've got to embrace it, right? I've bought Below Zero. I've got to play it. Superliminal. Yeah, that's on the channel. That was great. Tacoma as well. Talos Principle was great. It's been a long time since I played that, but puzzle game with really interesting philosophical discussions. I wish I could have played that blind on the channel, but I don't know whether to get into doing live streams at some points to do replays or challenge runs or just kind of more casual stuff like that. I don't really know if any of you guys would be into that, but yeah. A bit of Tekken, I just wanted to play as the Muay Thai fighter. Yeah. Thronebreaker, yeah. Yeah. Transistor I did try and do a Let's Play of, but I think you can only capture it in 720p. Yeah, a bit of Street Fighter. I've still not played Undertale, but I've been warned about the like Undertale fan base being a bit judgmental. I don't know what the right phrase is, so I probably wouldn't play that on the channel, but I still need to play it. Valiant Hearts, I think I played a little bit of testing it out for a Let's Play. That might be a good idea. Because I need to get into doing more indie games, don't I? Ethan Carter was great. Now, the Walking Dead series, that has been requested before. So I've played the first season all the way through. Really great. That led to me reading the comics, actually. I own quite a lot of the comics now. It was a great gateway into the comics, because the comics are, obviously what inspired all of the show and the games, and are better than all of them, but the first season was great. Season 2 was good, but yeah, nowhere near as good as the first season. And I didn't finish A New Frontier. I might have started playing it before all the episodes came out. So I could play A New Frontier and the final season, which I obviously haven't played and don't own. I think that might be on Epic Games. So I'd be down for playing that, but would you guys be okay with me not having a Season 1 and Season 2 playthrough on the channel and then having that? I guess I could just talk through my decisions and my feelings on the game at the beginning. A bit of 40k, nothing wrong with that. Edith Finch, great. The beautiful Witcher trilogy. Well, the first game is okay. You know, just because I love The Witcher, you know, it doesn't mean I have to like lie about the first game's like massive faults. Because, you know, the combat just has aged like so badly. It's aged like bread. The combat in The Witcher 1, like I replayed it fairly recently, and the combat, I just put it on easy so that I could just go for the story. But it's almost like a fever dream. The first game, it doesn't really connect to the other games, in my opinion, that much, because it's like an imitation of the book story from the books with the child surprise and everything, Child of Destiny. Whereas 2 and 3 actually feel like good continuations from the books, in my opinion. But yeah, 2 and 3 are great. The first one is okay, but I think if you would have played 3 and then you go back and play 1, it just doesn't age that well. The Witness, I don't think I got very far in that. My patience cracked. Wolf Among Us, 5 hours. Okay, maybe that's like the first 2 episodes. I didn't finish it though. It didn't really grab me, but I know people really like that. XCOM, I'm not going to hover over that and reveal how many hours I've got in there. I love XCOM 2, man. So many good options with mods. Modding is just so, you know, if you're someone who replays games a lot, you have to play on PC for mods, because like replaying games like XCOM 2, like The Witcher 3, Skyrim, you know, mods on Cyberpunk, on most loads of single player games, it can really enhance replaying the game so much. In terms of games and other platforms, I think I went through my PS4 stuff. GOG, I think most of that's on the channels, like the Metro trilogy I really enjoyed. I read the 3 books, I played the 3 games. That was a really good experience, man. I always forget about Metro, man. Metro was just, it was so good, wasn't it? It was so good, Metro. Oh, it was so good. Yeah, what else? What's on GOG? I've got Control on GOG, but I've not played it yet. Cyberpunk, obviously. Disco Elysium's on there. I think that's it. There'll be other stuff scattered on all the other random launches that are around. You know, Sifu, whatever else on the EA one. Yeah, that's kind of stuff that I've played. I know this video is like miles too long, but everything's in one place. I'll leave timestamps. And that's all the recommendations we've been through. That's what's coming up next. Plans for the channel, a sense of what kind of games I like, what kind of games I don't like. And yeah, we'll leave it there, guys. We'll say goodbye from the multiverse. Multiple Mad Mats. I'll see you later, guys. See you next time.